So without further ado, what do you think, Coach? We ready to run it?
I'm ready to run it, man. I'm just want to know where you want to go first.
I got you. Well, first I got to introduce us. This is Rodney James for Cage Side Press. I'm joined by American Top Team coach Dean Thomas. You know who he is. He's a former UFC fighter, also on Dana White Looking for a Fight TV show. On all kind. What other TV shows? He's on all kinds of things. Stand-up comedy.
Huh? ESPN, West Palm radio show. I do all kinds of stuff.
He does it all. He's a Renaissance man, just like myself. So, all right, Coach, look, here's the deal. The main event. Now, here's a couple of guys you know. I know, obviously, Kamaru Usman is a guy that you spend a lot of time studying because your prodigy, if you will, or protege, however, whichever word is more appropriate, just pick one, in Tyron Woodley, who was the former champion, of course, had to defend the belt against that man. So I know y'all spent a lot of time getting ready for him. We know how good a fighter is. He's incredible. Colby Covington is a guy who's from your gym at American Top Team. And first things first, I want to know, okay, going into that fifth round, they had one judge that had it 3-1 for Colby, another one 3-1 for Usman, and then another judge had it 2-2, which is the way I saw it. Now, I'm curious how you saw it going into the fifth round. What did you think the score would be?
Yeah, I thought the score was 2-2 as well. I can't remember which rounds I thought they won a piece, but I thought it was 2-2. I knew that fight was going to be close. A lot of people were like, oh, I had one guy tell me, oh, man, Usman's going to knock him out early. I'm like, nah, man, this fight's going to be a lot closer than you think. I had it 2-2 going into the third round, or the fifth round, I'm sorry. I also had Colby winning up until he started losing in that fifth round.
Okay.
So,
right in the fifth round, yeah, he started off good, and then I don't know. I think had they continued it, I mean, especially if Usman, in a way, let me ask you this: what did you think about the stoppage? Did you think it was too early?
A lot of people think it was too soon, but here's another thing too. Like, if he had a broken jaw and they knew about it, the refs knew about it, they should have stopped it right then and there. He shouldn't have been able to continue. And he said it. I mean, you heard it on TV. He said, I got a broken jaw. So at that point, somebody could have probably alarmed the ref that he's got a broken jaw, and they would have stopped it. Because if he had a broken jaw before the fight, they wouldn't let him fight. If you had a broken arm in the fight, they're going to stop it. You have a broken jaw in the middle of the fight, they probably should stop it. But I'm not sure the ref was aware of it. So that kind of makes the point not very relevant. But I thought the stoppage was good, man. Colby wasn't coming back from that. As soon as he got knocked down, I think that fight was over.
That's a good point, Coach. That is actually a great take that I've yet to hear from anybody. And I think a lot of it is just emotions because fans get fired up and they, it was an awesome, awesome fight and they wanted to see it keep going. And you hear more people talk about Colby's heart, and which I can't take that away from him. Yeah, I mean, the guy fought 2 rounds with a broken jaw, but you're absolutely right. I mean, you got to get him out of there because, that could cause some really serious permanent damage. You have a broken jaw, and then some of those shots that he continued to take, especially in that fifth round, because he got dropped twice, and these weren't slips. I mean, he was just getting absolutely rocked. Again, I give him all the credit for his heart, but I feel like when Usman got on him right before the finish, I feel like it would have just been more of the same. You got a big, strong wrestler on top of you. I know Colby's a great wrestler, but after taking that much punishment, I feel like he would have just continued to take more punishment, and we could have seen some really bad permanent damage happen to that jaw, man.
Yeah, but throughout the whole fight, I thought Colby, he fought tough. I'll say that, and he fought much improved in the striking area. But I said earlier before the fight, I said Usman's best chance is if he could keep it in boxing range, because Usman is the more technical boxer. I thought Colby had the advantage in speed and footwork and athleticism. Colby's a little quicker and has better balance than Usman. So like the fact that Usman was able to slow it down and he didn't really even force Colby to box with him. Colby willingly stood there and boxed with him, and Usman took away what Colby's good at. One, he somehow charmed him into staying in front of him and boxing with him, and then those body shots just took the wind out of Colby. So Colby couldn't really start moving as much as he normally does. But I thought Colby's biggest advantage would be if he moved his feet, if he used his hand speed. And we saw Colby had faster hands because Colby was rocking Usman a few times, but Usman's technique is better. he's a better technical boxer, but Colby's a little quicker, so Colby was able to get off at times. But the fact that Usman was hitting him in the body with them kicks and them straight rights to the body, it just kind of took the sails away from Colby. Colby was forced to stand in front of him the remainder of the fight, and we saw what happened.
Yeah, I feel like the body shots were very telling. That's the next person who fights Colby, definitely to take that into consideration, because that seemed to be a big factor in that fight. Okay, so UFC 247 press conference took place. I told you a lot going on in fight week. We got to speak with John Jones, and somebody asked him about Colby, because I guess these guys used to room together in college or something like this. And John Jones, with full disclosure, he said, look, a lot of people think I'm a terrible person. He's like, so if it's coming from me, you know it's true. Colby Covington is a terrible human being. He's just a bad person. Now, I don't expect you to sit here and badmouth him, Coach, but I would like to know, what is your response to John Jones saying that about Colby Covington?
Well, I mean, they obviously have history, and he probably knows Colby better than I do. What I know of Colby is that, he's quiet in the gym, and before he was Colby Covington, he was Colby Covington in the gym, and he never had a problem with anybody. He was quiet. He's a hard worker. He trains a lot, and he trains really hard. And that's what I know of him, and that's the only thing I can say about him, is that he trains really hard, and he's a hard worker. And he willed himself to a title, interim title, and a title shot. And he's a good fighter. What he did to Robbie Lawler was impressive, and what he's done up until that point is impressive. I mean, he's a good fighter. You can't take any of that away from him. But John Jones and him have history, and and they know each other. They room together. I never roomed with Colby. I don't know him on that level. So if John Jones says it, then you kind of have to maybe take his word for it. That maybe, who knows? I don't know.
Well, I asked because there's just been a lot of things, and people try to defend him and say, well, he's trying to sell fights. I get that, but after you beat Robbie Lawler decisively, you don't have to get on the microphone and make light of Matt Hughes, who suffered a near fatal accident. I mean, it's totally unnecessary. This is a guy who can't obviously defend himself. It's a guy that you're never going to have to fight. I mean, it's just low class. I think it's just really, really bad taste. And it's not, there's one thing when you're joking about, controversial things, but I just felt that was really low class. And of course, there's the comments that he's made about Glenn Robinson, who's passed away. And I mean, I just think that's so unnecessary, uncalled for. And if you've seen the rebuttal that Glenn Robinson's daughters have actually posted online in response to that, I mean, it actually kind of hurts your heart a little bit. It's like, man, that ain't right. If you talk, my father passed away in January. We're not the closest, but I mean, if you say something publicly about my father like that, you can forget about a cage fight. I'm gonna show you. Yeah. I'm gonna show you how to get ghetto real fast. I don't give a damn.
I get it, man. I get it for sure. I mean, he hasn't been the most tasteful guy. He hasn't been easy to swallow. I understand why he had to do what he did, but you're right. He's crossed the line numerous times. He needed. He was on a pretty long leash, and he needed to kind of check himself at times. I mean, he crossed the line within the team as well. It hasn't been very tasteful, but I understand why he did it. But I also think that he could have handled this loss a little better, considering that the week of the fight he came out and told everybody, "Hey, this is all an act. This is an act. I'm sorry, it's an act." I thought after the fight he could have got on the mic and been like, "You know what?" and repeated that, just reiterated that. Listen, I know some of y'all hate me, and I get it. I was a little, abrasive. But you know what? Usman fought a great fight. He beat me tonight. I would love a rematch. I thought that was what Colby should have did, and they probably would have gave it to him, because he's a great fighter and a compelling fighter, and a fighter that obviously sells. And I think that he probably could have got some people on his side, but just said, listen, Usman fought a great fight. He beat me tonight. I'd love a rematch. If I offended anybody in the past, I apologize, but I had to do what I had to do to keep my job. He didn't do that. He ran out and he cried, and he ran out and got on the mic or got in social media and bashed the ref or whatever. But I thought it was a good opportunity for him to try to turn his stock around a little bit, and he didn't do it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I think, yeah, absolutely, man. And I mean, here's the thing. I've said this publicly too. You know, Kamaru Usman is a guy that I've met a few times, interviewed him before both of these fights. You know, the one with Colby and the one with Tyron Woodley, and I mean, I just find him to be just a genuine, humble, just a really good dude. And I get in the lead up to the fight, you're trying to position yourself to get a fight with him. Okay, so yeah, that is par for the course. You got to be, the squeakiest wheel gets the grease, right? You gotta talk smack. You gotta call him out. You gotta get on social media and act a fool. But at the same time, it's like, dude, you're bullying this guy, and I get that you're wanting to build a fight and hype the fight, but at some point you have to be honest with yourself and with everybody else and just say what you know to be true, and that is, he's a good dude. He didn't deserve you talking all that shit to him, and he deserves your respect after giving such an amazing fight. Just my thought.
Yeah, I mean, he should have. People are very short-sighted, man. They would have forgotten. Some people would have never forgive Colby, but a lot of people would have forgotten about it. He could have turned it around. He already garnered the attention that he needed, but he could have turned it around in his favor. And, I get he just lost and whatever, but I think he could have handled that a little bit better.
Yeah, I think if you want to be a champion, I guess there's no hard and fast rule about this, but I think you have to conduct yourself like a gentleman or a lady. I think of, look at all the other champions. Look at Max Holloway. Max Holloway lost his title. I mean, the greatest featherweight of all time, and then totally humble and just all smiles in the back saying, hey, look, it is what it is. That's his catchphrase, right? But he's going to come back. Now, but before we get on to that, a couple more things about this Colby situation. So you and I talked about this a while back, about the fact that the UFC just didn't seem like they wanted to put the fight together with Tyron and Colby. And you and I were like two of the only people who were of the opinion that maybe the UFC kind of saw that as a PR nightmare, because if the mainstream ever got wind of this ridiculously over-the-top MAGA hat wearing, Trump cheerleader versus a black guy from Ferguson, Missouri, it could have been a disaster. But we almost kind of got a similar situation, because instead of Tyron Woodley, of course, we got an African immigrant, and so there's been a lot made of. There's a very polarizing situation. You have people just going completely crazy all over the place for this. I actually heard a guy, I won't name him, but at Media Day, who said, he's like, I didn't even interview Colby, because I said, well, why wouldn't you do that? I mean, he's going to get traffic. People are going to watch the video. Like, who cares if you like him or not? He's like, no, I don't want to have anything to do with him because he's a racist. I said, well,
Usman?
No. Somebody said about Colby.
Oh, about Colby. Oh, all right. I'm sorry.
No, not Usman.
I'm like, what? All right, keep going. I'm sorry.
No, but I mean, like you said, you know Colby a little bit. You don't know him a ton, but I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think there's enough evidence by his behavior, just the fact that he's, he talks shit about Brazilians and that he loves Trump, does that make him a racist?
Listen, I mean, we throw that word around so often that I think it's lost its meaning to where we just start calling everybody a racist for whatever reason we want. I don't know what Colby's core beliefs are in his heart. I don't know that if, he feels like he's better than black people, or he feels like he's better than Mexicans. I don't know what his core beliefs are, because I think we just kind of throw that term around, racism and racist. He's a racist. He said this. He's a racist. But you don't really know what a person's core beliefs are. Sometimes, if we're all stereotypical, we all prejudge based on what we know about people. And just because you prejudge somebody doesn't necessarily make you a racist. I don't know what Colby's made of. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't hang out with the guy. I don't know if he, gives to charity, to black organizations. Maybe he does. I don't know. But, and just, his persona is, the whole Trump thing. I don't know. So now it's hard. It's hard. I can't call anybody a racist when I don't really know them, unless they blatantly come out and say, hey, I don't like black people.
Sure.
He's never said that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, that's basically what I was, that was my opinion too, was we don't have enough evidence. Like, just because, he's he hasn't said anything that was so over the line that I thought, okay, that, he's definitely a bigot or he's a terrible person. And the whole Trump thing, I mean, look, I don't know where that begins and ends, to tell you the truth with him. Like, I don't know if it's just part of the gimmick or what. So anyway, him and Jorge Masvidal used to be really close friends. This I know that you're very well aware of. You know these guys from the gym, and they're having quite a public fallout. Like, can we pull the curtain back just a little bit here, Coach? Do you think that beef is real or is it's been engineered?
Yeah, that's 100% real.
Wow.
There's no anything about that. That's 100% real. Jorge has accused Colby of not paying a coach. And he's Jorge's friend, and he says that he paid him. So, that's hood beef. You don't pay my boy, now we got beef. So that's 100% genuine. There's no fabrication or engineering behind that. That's 100%.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this happen in the past too. When in this sport, it's not a team sport. Even if you're on the same quote unquote fight team, it's still an individual sport, and you still have two guys who want the same thing. So if you remember when Rashad and John Jones, for example, had a similar falling out, these guys were super close. John took the opportunity to get the title shot when Rashad wasn't able to, and Rashad felt betrayed. But in that situation, I felt like, hey, you know what? I mean, wouldn't we all do the same thing? You guys want the belt. Friendship is not what we came here for at the end of the day.
Yeah. You get into this game to be the best you can. And you want to take opportunities to be the best you can, because at the end of the day, that's what your legacy consists of. And if you get an opportunity to be the champ, you need to take it. And whoever is in the position to be like, oh, you're screwing me. No, you need to respect that and go, hey, man, I understand. You want to be the best you can. I wanted to be the best I can. I'm in a position to get a title. I'm going to take it. And if I'm coaching people, man, that's just the business of it. You want that. That's what you want. You can't hate on somebody for wanting that same thing, because we all want it. And not everybody can get there. That's what I'm saying, is not everybody's good enough to get there. So if you are good enough to get there and you do have the opportunity to get there, you need to take advantage of it.
Yeah. And, we talked earlier about a potential rematch with Colby and Usman. I don't know that I hate that fight, but I think Jorge versus Covington is a good one. Another one that Dana White said that he likes is if we could finally see Tyron Woodley and Colby Covington. I think you make that fight, make it a title eliminator, and winner gets a shot at Usman. What are your thoughts as a fan? I mean, I don't know if you know anything behind the scenes. I know Tyron Woodley is your boy. You coach him. You've probably talked to him. But what do you think about that one?
It obviously, to me, makes more sense because, you got some guys that will say that they deserve it. You got Leon Edwards, who won 7 fights in a row. You got Jeff Neal, won 6 fights in a row. Them two need to fight. Let them fight. But in terms of Tyron probably should have gotten an immediate title shot because he defended the belt 4 times. He was champ for a while. He should have gotten an immediate title shot. Colby Covington was an interim champion. They both lost to Usman. They should fight, and the winner should get a title shot.
I love it. I mean, I agree 100%. All right, so let's shift gears here to the co-main event now. Another person who is close to you from your camp, somebody that you coach, one of the greatest champions that we've ever seen in this sport, and definitely the best female fighter to ever do it. Of course, I'm talking about Amanda Nunes. Man, I tell you, man, one of the most impressive things about that fight is we saw her go through some adversity and she answered a lot of questions too, because people have been critical of her gas tank in the past, and I think that you could definitely see that there's some improvement there. What I want to know, Coach, though, is where do we go from here? Because I feel like there's just not a lot left for her to prove, especially if they even keep the 145-pound division around, which seems to be on hold ever since she won that title.
Yeah, there's not really much for her. And I said it, that if she gets past Jermaine, that the drop-off of talent is so far down from that. So it's almost like she could just mail it in. They might as well just pay her. There's really not many challenges for her at this point with many of the girls. And And the only thing that I could see happen is if Amanda just, they give her, whoever's next, and she just doesn't train for it and just loses. That's the only. But if she trains for any of the other girls that are up and coming, they're just so far under Jermaine or Cyborg or any of the, Misha Tate. They're just so far under that. Amanda, what she's done has been incredible. I mean, we haven't seen anybody do what she's done, and that's take out all those former champions. Take them out. She almost took out Jermaine. And Amanda did not fight a great fight. I'll admit that. She didn't fight a great fight. Jermaine is dangerous. And while Jermaine is more dangerous than she is good. And she's dangerous. And she had Amanda in trouble a lot. And Amanda showed, like you said, she showed how to deal. She can deal with adversity. She can deal with fatigue. She can deal with adversity. She was hurt at times in that fight. She can't, and she still prevailed. But I don't see anything else that she can do right now that'll put a feather in her cap. I mean, she's just done everything that she could do with those divisions.
Well, I don't know how much you saw about this, but when we were backstage at some point during the night, the female boxing champion Clarissa Shields came backstage to tell us that she had a meeting with Dana White, was trying to put together a fight between her and Amanda Nunes. Now, when I heard this, I thought, first of all, I've never seen Clarissa Shields. She's smoking hot, and she's quite the badass from what I hear. So I go, man, this is kind of low key interesting, because a lot of times you see these MMA fighters that are trying to call out boxers, and nobody actually really gives a shit, myself included. But I thought it was interesting to see the tables turn, to see a boxer that actually wants to make it happen. And she said, look, I'll box Amanda Nunes, and then I'll go do an MMA fight, which obviously is a terrible, terrible idea. The second part. And of course, I think the first part's a bad idea for Amanda. Now, when Amanda came back, we asked her point blank, and she absolutely had no interest whatsoever. She immediately dismissed this idea and said, no, I am not a boxer. I'm an MMA fighter. I have no interest in this fight. Even for the biggest payday, I wouldn't do it. But I mean, what do you think, Coach? I think she should go for it.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's silly talk, and it's easy to say from our perspective, yeah, do it. But Amanda doesn't fight for that. Like, Amanda fights because she likes to fight. She has fun doing it. And I think, like, if she were to do a boxing match, it wouldn't be fun for her, because she's a complete fighter. She's a complete mixed martial artist. You saw, even in the Jermaine fight, you saw how she was outclassed on the feet and said, I got to make an adaptation. And she did. She doesn't want to train to do a boxing match against the greatest female boxer of our age, So I think it's pretty silly, and she doesn't want to do it. And Clarissa Shields, she's a friend of mine. We talked about training. Talked about me training her. In fact, I've been working with her boyfriend for a while. But it's silly talk.
I never worked with you, Coach. What you talking about? Hey, she did mention that, though. Actually, yeah, she did mention that she if she was going to jump into MMA, she would train at American Top Team, which is interesting because she'd be in there with Amanda.
Yeah, which is a wild idea. The thing is, she comes from a boxing background, which is a lot more individualized than MMA. MMA still revolves around teams in a sense, even though we said it's not a team sport. Yeah. It still does revolve around teams. And boxing is not the same way. So I don't think she was fully aware of how it works. And we'll have that discussion. Is it like you can't train at American Top Team to fight Amanda? Amanda is the sweetheart of American Top Team. That just won't happen. So, I think all the talks of Amanda and Clarissa Shields will be squashed pretty soon, unless Clarissa's just like, you know what? Because Amanda doesn't want to fight her anyway. Clarissa can't train at American Top Team to fight Amanda. It's just not going to happen.
Here's what, I thought about this afterwards, because, yeah, as soon as Amanda dismissed this idea, and I thought, okay, well, I mean, if she doesn't want it, then it's obviously not going to happen. And quite frankly, if she's not enthusiastic about it, then I don't really want to see it, because that just means it's, a fight that she's not interested in. And if she did go through with it, it would be just kind of going through the motions. But I thought about this, and I'm like, hell, if Valentina Shevchenko wins, I mean, not that I like these crossover boxing versus MMA fighters, but if Clarissa Shields is adamant that it has to happen, I mean, I think that's the girl to do it with is Valentina, but that's just my thoughts.
No, and like if they did like a kickboxing match, Valentina would obviously win. Boxing, she'd get destroyed by Clarissa.
Yeah.
And Clarissa's a big girl. Clarissa's like 170 pounds, you know. She's a big girl. Big, strong, solid girl. And Valentina's small. There's a big difference in size there.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be fair for anybody. I think all that talk with Clarissa fighting these girls is not going to happen.
yeah. It was just a weird scene. You know, they brought her back, and it was almost like why would you purposely bring her back to speak to the media? Because it almost seems like there's an announcement to make, but instead it was almost kind of like they were just trying to stoke the rumor mill and get us talking about it. And I don't know, maybe it was just a way to see if it generated any interest, and I feel like it generated no interest whatsoever. And yeah,
I don't think a lot of MMA fans really even know about Clarissa Shields.
Right.
Yeah. MMA fans, I don't think they really know about her. Like boxing fans do.
Is she the one that sparred with Cyborg? All those videos? Yeah. And that's the only reason I knew who she was, because I remember and she was piecing Cyborg up. And so that kind of told me a lot right there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And that's really the only reason why MMA fans would know her is from that video.
Well, Coach, man, look, we broke down the main event, the co-main event. We're about out of time here. Anything that you want to plug before we get off the line? I know we talked about your show, Looking for a Fight. What's going on with that? When are we going to see you again?
We have one in the can that we shot over the summer. They're holding on to that for a little bit, but other than that, you know, I'm just waiting. It's a busy time for Dana with the holidays and everything, and then you know the first quarter of next year is obviously really busy for the UFC with Conor McGregor coming back, the John Jones fight, and just a lot of big fights happening. So I'm not sure when we'll be back on the road, but I'm sure we'll be back on the road soon, and just more shenanigans with me, Matt, and Dana. It's gonna be fun.
Awesome, man! I can't wait to check it out. And then what? Speaking of this upcoming quarter, that's fairly busy. Any of your guys, you know, that you coach exclusively that are coming out in the next few months?
Well, I know I got Shoeface fighting Brad Tavares in Brazil.
I like it.
Yeah. And that's kind of my big one now. But you know, never know. Tyron is looking to get back in the first quarter, so he should be back. He should be back too. So you never know what's going to happen with that, unless he holds off for Colby.
Hey, listen, Tyron. I hope you see this, Tyron. I hope you hold out for Colby. That is a fight that I got to see. Man, he talks so much trash, was so disrespectful. He wants it. Hey, be careful what you wish for. Go on and give it to him.
Wood. I hear that.
All right, my man. Thank you so much, Coach. Until the next time, this is Rodney James for Cage Side Press.